And in DC, what they do is they make sure to work on legislation that is obviously extremely important to the community. So that's anywhere from budgetary issues, which I'm sure you guys have heard of, sequestration being one of the most important things that is happening or happened in March with our budget. And basically what sequestration is that it's a across-the-board cuts on our entire budget. You know, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous way of taking care of our budget because it is ultimate cuts against everything. Cuts against education, cuts against affordable housing, and cuts against our defense. In terms of, you know, TSA was one of the most important ones that obviously Republicans and in Congress understood that, you know, being able to have security at our airports is very important. So they were able to pass a bill just this past week that would reinstate their budget to make sure that there's enough security going through at our airports. But it's legislation like that is very important that we make sure that do not happen in our Congress, and that's something that the Congressman is very, you know, adamant in, that we make sure that we're taking care of our budget in a way that's a comprehensive way, you know, not cutting what's important to what he feels is, you know, important to constituents. So that's what happens on the legislative side in DC. The Congressman, like I said, is very thrilled about being out in the community, and we've had certain events with the community so far, and we're working on other events as well, which I definitely would like to work with you all to be able to address you know, Taiwanese American cultural events, and then not just cultural events, but educational events, not just to the Congressman, but to the entire community. And I think that that's something that would be important to the community in this area, and would be beneficial to everyone in the Congressional District. And I think since we're on a federal level, it would be beneficial to the entire nation to understand, you know, the cultural aspects of, you know, the Taiwanese community. So I'm definitely would love to hear what you all would like me to address with the Congressman. You know, in any questions that you have, I'll do my best to answer them as best as possible. But there are obviously going to be certain questions that I won't be able to answer, and I can certainly bring that to the Congressman. We could address that to you personally as he would like to do that. But you know, like I said, it's very important for him to be able to address that to the community. We have three goals that he has. One being healthcare, the second one being immigration, and the third one being economic development. And that it means jobs. You know, being able to provide jobs in our congressional district, as we have some of the major hits in our community, being Hayward and Union City. Those were the most affected by the recession. And so we're trying to be able to develop certain legislation that will help certain small businesses be able to produce obviously more jobs for the community and be able to help out in the community. So one of the first bills that the Congressman introduced into Congress was called the Main Street Revival Act. And what that is basically we would be able to have small businesses be able to not pay payroll taxes for the first year for developing small businesses. And that would definitely benefit small businesses in being able to hire more employees while also being able to take care of their day-to-day expenses. So that was something that the Congressman was very passionate about, obviously creating jobs. We're continuing to write legislation on other topics and other issues that are coming up. And we also understand that immigration is taking a great presence in Congress, and so the Congressman is trying to do everything he can to be able to add certain pieces, certain language into the legislation as much as possible. And we'll be also having an immigration forum either in June. We still have yet to nail that down, but I'm working with him on that. And basically what we want to do is be able to, I think the most important thing that the Congressman wants to address is information. How does information get to constituents? Because oftentimes, pieces of legislation are written in such a way that only attorneys would understand, right? And unfortunately, not all of us are attorneys, including myself. And so being able to disseminate that information to the constituents so that they actually understand is important. So what we're going to do with this immigration form is be able to bring out a regional administrator from the 3 agencies, which are USCIS, the Department of State, and also ICE, Customs Enforcement, and be able to bring them out and address certain concerns and also address certain information that the constituents want. So those are the things that we'll be working on. Obviously, there are tons of other things that we'll be working on as well, but those are the ones that the Congressman wants to focus on the most. He sits on the committee of Department of Homeland Security and also Science, Space, and Technology, as there are the labs at the Livermore that are in our district as well. So he's definitely looking to see how we can make sure that we take care of what's inside of our California 15th Congressional District, and then also be able to look out for the nation, because that's the most important part about making sure that we are taking care of the infrastructure, not just in the 15th Congressional, but also throughout the nation. So those are the things that the Congressman is very interested in, and we are. He always says that our doors are always open, which is always true. We always leave our door open, both literally and figuratively. And so, we invite the entire community to come to us at our Pleasanton office, to call us with any concerns, to email us. He is one of the very few members of Congress who actually write their own tweets, who write their own Facebook posts. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but a lot of other members of Congress, they don't do that. They have, their press directors, press communicators, write out a 140-character press release, and that's not something that he wants to do. And that also touches with being able to disseminate that information, something that people can understand. So he's very accessible in that he also gives out his cell phone, even though we've told him not to. And so, he wants to be able. He's very young. He's 32 years old. I'm not sure if you guys know very much about him, but he was a Dublin City Council member, and he was also a prosecutor for the DA of Alameda County for 7 years. So he has a sense of justice, and I think that's where he gets a lot of his passion from, is being able to. His father was also a police officer, and his mother was a secretary. So he comes from the middle class, and he understands the struggles that there are, and he also wants to make sure that sense of justice is heard, and that he's looking out for our constituents. So it's always a pleasure and an honor to come into his office when he's there, but it's always a pleasure and an honor even when he's not, because I know that the Congressman always wants to be involved in what's going on in the district, and every case, whether that be good or bad, he wants to know. He wants to be updated on what's going on. And it's something that he shared with me that he wants to continue doing for a very long time, in that he doesn't want to just start off in the beginning in a sprint, per se, wanting to know about what's going on. He wants to continue that throughout the entire term, and then also beyond that. So I would like to open it up for any questions that you might have, or any comments or concerns that you'd like me to bring up to the Congressman, and I'd be more than happy to do that. And I also brought some business cards as well, so you'll have my email address and my telephone number in case you would like to reach out to me regarding any of those. We also, I just want, before I open it up, we also, so I just work on immigration, healthcare, and foreign relations. We also have 5 other staffers at our office who also work on other issues. Anywhere from if you're a student and you're having issues with your student loans, we also work on that as well. Veterans is another big thing. I don't know if you guys know, but at Oakland VA, not to point them out or anything, but they have a very big backlog on cases for veterans, and they have given all of themselves for this country. When they come back, they expect certain benefits, and unfortunately, when they come back, they have this 2-year waiting period, and sometimes it can be even longer than that. And right now, they're having a big issue with Vietnam veterans, and so the Congressman, along with other members of Congress, including Barbara Lee's office in Oakland, and Jackie Spear in San Mateo, are looking very hard into how we can assist the Oakland VA regional office in making sure that we take care of our veterans as best as possible, and then also be able to offer them the benefits that they so rightly deserve. And so that's what the Congressman is working really hard on. We also have someone else working on IRS issues. So if you're having any issues with tax, I know that April 15th just passed, but even though it's past, tax season always happens, and IRS, I was told, is an agency you don't want to mess with. Make sure that you pay your taxes and take care of them. But if you are having issues, we do have liaisons who can help, and we also have a staff who works in that. And then there is another one that I also wanted to touch on, which is post office issues. So if you're not receiving your mail, which can be a nuisance because you're not paying your bills on time, we can also look into why that's happening and help you out with that. So without further ado, if you'd like to ask me